Today we'll be talking about diabetes and diet. We all know diet plays a very important part in management of diabetes. One question that usually asked is whether diabetes can be managed with diet alone. A large number of people can do it. They are doing it very well. So along with that, maybe we need some lifestyle exercise also. We'll be focusing on diet on. So most important thing is what are things to avoid. What you are things to avoid is usually mainly refined carbohydrates. One of the most important refined carbohydrates are sugars. When you say sugars, it is our table sugar or can be our jaggery, can be even honey or a lot of this, lot of what you say our natural sweet things. Anything which is natural and sweet, all contains either glucose or fructose or sucrose. So as far as possible, avoid these things as far as possible. But occasionally you can have a treat with this. Your diabetes is very well controlled and with your consultation with your dietitian or with your doctor, you may have a treat of at least every week or every month or something like that. But as a general rule, avoid all these things. So refined sugars are one thing. Second is other refined carbohydrates, including our very whitish rice and maida. All are these are refined carbohydrates, which also we can reduce. Not we are saying it should be zero. Can reduce its level to very less. You can eat brown rice or you can eat whole wheat atta. All things are much better than this very whitish rice or maida. So these two are the main components of refined carbohydrates. That is sugars, avoid as much as possible, which includes jaggery and honey and like that. And even I will say fructose containing juices. Even our usual fruit juices, if you are taking three oranges and producing an orange juice without adding sugar, it also contains a lot of fructose. So again, you should reduce it or can even avoid it. But at the same time, eating an orange as such is beneficial because it has a lot of fiber, give you a lot of vitamin C, and it will also have some bulk forming because you are eating fiber. But you are only using fruit juices, even if it is natural fruit juices, again can increase your blood sugars. And also all the other, carbonated drinks, all these drinks you should have to avoid. And that is main one thing. Second is you have to reduce your calories. I said, your body mass index or your body mass index should be ideally less than 23 or maybe around 23 and 25. So to become very thin. To become thin, you have to reduce the quantity of food you should eat. So if you're eating five idlis or four or five rotis or like that, so that will be too much. So you have to reduce it to two or three idlis, one or two rotis, and you have to reduce the quantity of the food, especially of carbohydrate. So the carbohydrate content should be only around 50% from the total calories. So reduce the carbohydrate. It's important. Even if it is not refined carbohydrate, total content of food should be less. Also, you have to reduce the oil content because especially saturated fat can produce increased cholesterol and produce diabetic complications. So reduce the saturated fat. Saturated fat means almost all oils when it is boiled. When the oil is boiled, it basically becomes saturated fat. So boiled oils, as far as possible, reduce it. If you are using it as a without boiling, it may not be that much of a problem. You can use it as little bit. Then comes our egg. White is very good. It's only protein. Egg yellow is again it's fat, basically cholesterol. But it can be used sparingly, little bit, not much of a problem. But then comes our meat items, chicken, mutton, beef, like that. And chicken is better, it's less saturated fat. But beef and mutton has more saturated fat, so better to avoid. Butter and ghee contains a lot of saturated fat, so it's better to avoid. Come to fruits, very sweet fruits, better to avoid. Some mangoes are very sweet. Jackfruit can be very sweet. Some grapes are very sweet. When pineapple contains a lot of sweet fruits. When our watermelon contains a lot of sweet fruits. So this can be avoided, but you can take one apple a day or an orange per day, or our green banana, the robusta like banana once a day, or the small banana you can take two or three, like that. Papaya you can take a few pieces. All the fruits you can take a little bit, but no juices. But only very sweet fruits better to avoid. But you have to take a lot of vegetables. When you say vegetables, we do not mean the vegetables which grow under the ground, like what you say, or potatoes, like that, or yam, like that. Better to avoid all the vegetables that grow underground. Carrot and beetroot, even though growing underground, is okay, you can use it, but not potatoes, sweet potatoes, like that. And all the other vegetables which grow above the ground. everything, pumpkin, everything you can, tomatoes, brinjal, ladies finger, all these vegetable you can take lot of them. Yeah, better to cook it with less amount of oil so that it won't give much of a calories, but lot of bud, lot of fiber, so this will help. So basically, you can say, can conclude by saying, reduce or almost avoid sugars, the refined carbohydrates like white rice and maida, increase the amount of vegetables, not the root vegetable, so the other vegetable. Then fruits you can use in a sparingly, without not in a juice format, but fruit as such. Then egg you can use, especially egg white is very good. Yellow also you can use. Chicken also you can eat without much of an oil. Then comes the pulses. Pulses is very safe in diabetes. You can take in all forms of pulses. So whether it is whatever the pulse you are happy with, you can use it. All the pulses. And the pulses means the dal type. All the dals. You say all the dals you can use it in big quantities also you can do. So preferably what we should do is we should have a plate method of eating in which only one-fourth of the plate should be carbohydrate. The rest maybe the one-fourth should be vegetables, and there should be a little bit of fat, little bit of protein in the form of dal. So only the one-fourth should be carbohydrate. But most of our plates, it is almost two-thirds is carbohydrate. So only one-fourth should be carbohydrate. These are the basic, what you say, dietary, what is changes that we can do so that we can control our diabetes. Whether you can use sugars a little bit in diabetes, I would say only as a treat. Better to not use it at all. Better to not use it at all. If you are having a very well controlled diabetes, you're checking blood sugars very, very frequently. And if you're going to attend a party or if you have a family function where some sweet dishes are being prepared, okay, you can take it very, very, very less, very little bit of, just to taste it, you can use it. That's okay, fine. But you should be aware of your blood sugars and should be under very, very, very controlled. What about sugar alternatives? Preferably no natural sugar alternatives we use because it's almost same. The honey or jaggery, everything is same. So no, don't use any alternatives, sugar alternatives which are natural. But artificial sweeteners, which includes a lot of artificial sweetener brands are there. Basically, the chemicals are either aspartame or sucralose, or there is also something called stevia. This can be used. It can be, it produces no problems. It can be used when people are making sweet dishes using this sugar artificial sweetness that you can use. But as such, sugars about as much as possible, and it should be used only as a treat for your very, very well controlled diabetes. Then you can have a treat when you have an occasion. Type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes are entirely two different diseases. The lifestyle do not play any role in the origin of type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is due to reduction of beta cells in pancreas, most probably due to a viral infection. So it usually happens in the childhood itself. And such a person who don't have any insulin, so we need to treat with insulin only. But the diet as such is basically not that much different. But what we see is type 1 diabetes patients are mostly very thin and their body mass index will be very less, 18 or 19. So they may need to eat more. Otherwise, they become very fatigued and all. And also, they will get a lot of low blood sugars because they are taking insulin. And if you are not eating properly, they have very low blood sugar. So when you are thin, most of the type 1 patients are thin. So they may need to eat more. They may need to eat more calories. But the other things, eating of sugars, eating of carbohydrates, protein, fat, are similar in type 1 and type 2. And type 1 usually in kids, they are usually in children, they may need more nutrients. So we ask them to eat more protein, we ask them to eat more meat or egg, or we ask them to eat more fruits, more than type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, most people in 40s or 50s, there is no more growth of cells. So they don't need that much nutrients or proteins or vitamins like that. So in type 1, diets are a little bit different, especially if it is a kid. And they may need to eat more, especially because most of the type 1 people are very thin.